I'm here with Tim Young. Tim, we have some other things to discuss today, but first and foremost, I want to talk about this breaking news. Trump getting unconditional discharge in the New York City hush money case. All of the cases are gone. This was basically the last one standing. And they just needed to make a point. They needed to call him a convicted felon going into a week from now. What do you think?
Well, yeah, I mean, they had kind of jiggered with the laws to be able to go after him on this ridiculous charge to begin with. Anyway, this was okay. So the hush money case, it was an NDA, right? This is an NDA that he had with Stormy Daniels. I don't think anyone has ever just straight up said that. But this is all that was. They had an agreement. He paid her to keep her. It is a hush money case. That's what an NDA is. It's hush money. I have a couple of those going right now that I can't talk about because I've caught people doing bad stuff and they've thrown money at me to keep my mouth shut, and I can be bought. So that's the main point of this, is that I can be bought. And so, I understand that it's not illegal. And, when he was questioned about it during the first run of his presidency and that campaign there where they were trying to make it seem like it was something terrible, he said, he had to deny it because he had to hold up his side of the NDA. So, there's nothing here, and there was nothing here to begin with. It was totally political. And it's just, I actually am shocked that this judge didn't sentence him, didn't give him something, because they want to make a name for themselves. You have to remember, these people go to these cocktail parties with all these other leftists. You've got, they want to be recognized by the, Obama administration or the Clintons or whoever they look up to in politics, or whoever appointed them. And so they want to kind of get their, I don't know, be the talk of the town in their little circles. When I do well, I get little kudos from members of Congress and things like that. So I understand that. They want to get their attention, but again, it is totally an illegitimate situation. Total lawfare, total political persecution, and it's over now. And he's going to be president of the United States, and I hope he goes after all of his enemies. They're like, oh, he has a list of people he's going to go after. I'm like, yeah, please. I want to.
So, speaking of that list, I don't think that we've ever seen in real life, like basically the Capitol Hill played out like high school, the way that we saw it at the state funeral for Jimmy Carter. Start to finish, the way that Trump walked in with Melania, soon to be First Lady Melania, the way that they sat down, the way that Obama ended up sitting next to him because Michelle Obama wasn't there. The two chit-chatting, the giggling by Barack Obama, his new best friend. But nothing quite compares to the way that Kamala Harris looked when she turned around and saw the scene. Please give me your feedback here, what you thought about it, and your favorite moment.
Well, I didn't really watch. Here's the thing. You can tell how much I'm into watching Democrats on TV, or how much I look. Jimmy Carter was a president of the United States. He was one of the worst, probably now second worst, thanks to Joe Biden. Somewhere in the press conference the other day with Donald Trump, they asked him, how can you knock Jimmy Carter's policies after he just passed away? And it's like, his policies sucked. Literally, that's the same thing I say. Is like, look, none of his policies were any good. He did nothing for this country. He basically destroyed everything he could while he had the 4 years to do it. The good thing he did for this country was he led to Ronald Reagan becoming president of the United States. But Ronald Reagan had to do a lot of correcting, and Donald Trump, here we are 40 years later, Donald Trump has to correct for things. Go ahead, sorry.
No, didn't I just read something that someone said that Jimmy Carter went and tried to prevent Ronald Reagan from being elected, but he went somewhere behind the scenes. Like, he was more kind of corrupt and nefarious than people understand. I think, like, he spent decades building houses, but it doesn't negate the fact that he was not he was a terrible president, but he was not a good guy in a lot of situations. And there are a lot of stories now bubbling up to the surface about this and that, and never mind that he became besties with the leader of Hamas. But there are a lot of things, and it's like, when is the right time to talk about a president's legacy?
Well,
like, is it Like, you have to stop once they go, you have to stop doing it, or can we just learn from our history and mistakes?
Well, if you're a Democrat, you celebrate the death of anyone on the right. I mean, that really seems to be their MO, right? Is so, like I always go back to Rush Limbaugh. You look at Justice Scalia when he passed away. They were spiking the football and celebrating and laughing about it and saying, burn in hell and blah blah blah. I mean, the right never does anything like that, and definitely not at the level that the left goes after these people. But there's I think you can criticize, especially the president of the United States, as much as you want, whenever you want to. And the left again has opened up this floodgate. They've gone after Trump with everything they can. They, accused him of everything. They lie about him constantly. And where there might have been some sort of formality before about attacking political opponents, there is not anymore. They've totally erased all of that. But the topic that you wanted me to talk about, and I took us off into a kind of a left field here, was that funeral, and it was really fun to watch. I mean, from the get-go, I think my favorite part was Karen Pence not shaking Trump's hand, because you see just how much these people are supposed to be these ultimate Christians and forgiveness and love everyone, and Karen Pence is trash. So she sat there.
Forgiveness for what? I mean, forgiveness for what?
Nothing.
I mean, this is the other thing. It's like
He didn't do anything.
No, exactly. So it's like, if it's true, I mean, there were rumors that, Michelle knew that she was going to be sitting next to Trump, so she didn't come. I mean, that's ridiculous. You could just swap with Barack Obama, with President Barack Obama, and you don't have to sit next to Trump. But I don't, that kind of thing seems ridiculous to me. What isn't ridiculous is Kamala Harris just like, I thought that I thought she had her game face on quite well when she had to certify the results on Monday. I thought she did a pretty good job. When I watched her, and I thought, okay, she's pretty stoic. She just certified her own loss. I'm gonna hand it to her. That's pretty brutal. But somehow, when she turned around and saw Barack Obama joking with Donald Trump, um, months after President Obama said that he was a threat to democracy and kind of likened him to Hitler, etc., etc., that seemed more painful to her than certifying her own results somehow.
I think it's the final nail in the coffin. She knows her political career is over. And she knows she's not getting the support from these people anymore. She may be a candidate in 2028 in the primary, but she's yet to get a vote in a primary election. So I think she knows this is the beginning of the end of her. Actually, sorry, the end of her, not the beginning of the end of her. And I think that is just insult to injury, because obviously she was a pick from Barack Obama. Joe Biden didn't know what he was doing when he was in office the entire time. We know that. We know that was all like organized politically by the Obama team. So I think seeing Obama having a good conversation with Trump was kind of the end of the end for her, and she knows that it's over. And she can't keep. She's not. People say she's drunk all the time. I would probably think that too, but she's not a very smart person at the end of the day either. So she can't keep a straight face when it comes to a lot of things. I am shocked that she was as stoic and put together as she was when she certified the results of the election. She was not, and you could see through her fake smile. I know that you've been in politics and dealt with a lot of people and in the news for a long time. You could see through her looks when she swore in Ted Cruz. She was not happy at all. She had to swear in the senators who were reelected. So when she swore him in, she was definitely miserable. Certifying the results of the election, maybe she was just numb enough to get through it. But yesterday at that funeral, or whenever this airs, a couple days ago at that funeral, she couldn't hide it at all.
Well, and then the other thing is the thing that we have already known about, which is the icy cold reception that Jill Biden, First Lady Jill Biden, for just a few more days, when they sat next to each other. They didn't just like hardly acknowledge each other. They the body language was they turned away from each other. I mean, you can't help it. The president's going to be seated next to the vice president at an event like that. That is unavoidable. But it really seemed like that confirms there is animosity between Dr. Jill and Kamala Harris, is there not?
Well, yeah. So there are a couple factors here that you have to look at, and one of them is the turnover in Kamala Harris's office. So 92% turnover in her office over the last 4 years. I think it's higher than that actually, but it was 92% at one point here, a little bit back. She's unlikable. She's a nasty person that no one can get along with, and as much as I don't like Joe Biden and Jill Biden, I think they at least have their staff stick around longer than Kamala Harris. But you have to remember also, in the past couple of months, there have been a lot of stories leaking that have been quote unquote certified by White House staff about Joe Biden's mental health. Now you say, where does that come from? It's not going to come from his loyalists. They want to make sure that everything that he signs, all of the pardons, all of the money, all of the executive orders, everything that he does till the last day, we've got a couple of days left here, isn't questioned. So they're going to protect him by all means and make sure that he seems like he's a sane, competent, functional human being, which he's not. So all of the leaks that are coming from the White House have to be coming from someplace, and it has to be coming from Kamala Harris's office.
Yeah.
So because those people have no ties to Joe Biden, and Kamala Harris is angry. So I think she was actually trying to make a push to get the 25th Amendment enacted against Joe Biden so that she could get into office for at least a couple of days and be the 47th president, the first female president of the United States. I think that there was a concerted effort to try to do that from the inside. And again, nobody talks about this in media because they're busy reporting on, Joe Biden pooping his pants and being asleep on the tarmac when they were supposed to do the, honorable transfer? What do they call it when they bring in the
peaceful transfer,
oh, no. This is going to make us look bad.
This is going to make us look bad.
The honorable transfer of the remains of the servicemen who died in Afghanistan. Remember, that story came out that he was on Air Force One for 3 hours and made the families wait on the tarmac for him to come out. So why and who would let that out? It has to be somebody who truly hates him, who wants to put the final nails in the coffin of his political career. There is no way that somebody from his internal staff would have leaked that because they want to keep their power and they've kept that tight for a long time. It had to be Kamala's side. So those stories leaking.
Now, when you talk about the 25th Amendment and her attempts to at least be president for like 5 minutes, do you remember a couple of weeks ago when Kamala Harris canceled her trip to California? It was right before the New Year or even before Christmas. It was before the New Year or Christmas, and she came running back to the White House. So she canceled a trip to California, and the Bidens came running back suddenly. And then everybody was like, something's going down. Something's happening. There's been an emergency. I mean, do you think that was something? Because suddenly...
Now that you say it, actually, because I didn't remember that again because these news cycles. This is all credit to you, ma'am. Yeah, no, all credit to you because that was 3 or 4 weeks ago now, 4 weeks ago now, and the news cycle has been such a mess and has been such a mess for 4 years.
We're gonna get to that in a moment. Yeah,
it's just like I would never remember that.
We could talk for an hour today because there's so much in the news this week, but. I'm now thinking, now that I think about that, she ran back, they ran back, and then nothing happened. Like he went and read a story to children and creepily made one of them try to sit on his lap, and they wouldn't. It was right before Christmas, now that I remember it. And now I'm thinking that's what happened, that maybe they were trying to make a play for that. And the Bidens swooped right back from wherever they were. I don't know if it was a vacation. I think it was Delaware. And they came right back to the White House. There were no emergencies. I mean, there were drones flying in the sky, but no one seems to care about that, which we'll get to in a moment because we're going to talk about the presser. All right, let's talk about Greenland. Let's talk about Canada. Let's talk about the Gulf of America. So I think that it's gotten buried now, given like the news cycle this week is insane, and the wildfires, which we'll get to in a moment. But that presser, it really sent the liberal media into a tailspin, the whole media into a tailspin. Like, okay, he's come in, he's going to try to like take over the entire Western Hemisphere. So the three main points: he needs Greenland, we need Greenland. Canada should become the 51st state, not by physical force, but definitely through financial force. Um, and that it's no longer going to be the Gulf of Mexico, it's going to be the Gulf of America. And let's throw in a little Panama Canal in there, just for good measure. What is going on? What do you think is going on?
Trump is being Trump and having some fun with people and distracting people. He can control the media narrative, and he knows that he can control the media narrative, and so he's doing it. Why not? I mean, after he talked about Greenland, he sent Donald Trump Jr. and Charlie Kirk over on Trump Force One to hang out.
That's what I mean. I mean, it's like I always say, there's something called the joke budget, and it's like how far are you willing to go to troll? How far are you willing to go to make a joke and to be, kind of like the word that's always given to Trump is hyperbolic. Um, how far are you willing to go to be like, no, I mean it. I really want Greenland. So you send Air Force One with your son inside of it, have him come out, take a tour, create content, meet everybody, like it. That's dedication. That's commitment to the part, I would say, beyond. I mean, he certainly has the money to spend on such things, but how much of it is not is just a distraction from other things? Because when he was asked at the conference, for example, I believe it was a Newsmax reporter asked, "What are you going to do with Iran?" And he said, "I wouldn't be stupid enough to answer that question." The point is, he's not going to give up real important strategies. He's going to throw something at you to distract you. Do you agree?
Yeah, and I think the push actually with Canada becoming the 51st state was to get rid of Trudeau. It showed how weak Trudeau was, and he kind of added exclamation points to how terrible of a prime minister Justin Trudeau was. I think he just wanted to fan that fire to make him look worse and make him look weaker, and mission accomplished there. So
mission accomplished, but he was saying those things, and Trudeau had already resigned. So Trudeau resigned on Monday.
Well, but he was pushing that 51st state thing before them.
Well, yes, but then so Trudeau had resigned, announced his resignation on Monday.
Yeah.
And yet he continued with the rhetoric. So how serious is he here, or is this just about the migration issue and fair exchange of goods?
It's the migration issue. We have to remember, and we don't talk about this enough, that northern border has been just as porous as the southern border. I mean, I believe illegal immigration and illegal crossings are up 500%.
Chinese nationals, terrorists coming through the northern border. Yeah,
there are major problems in Vermont. I know that from a local perspective, that Vermont has had major problems with people crossing the border. New York has had major problems, but again, these are run by liberals in both of those places, so they don't really talk about it that much, but law enforcement will go off about it constantly. So, I think it's about saving money for us from Canada. I don't think he wants to ship money to these people anymore. He doesn't know why, and nor does any American know why that we're sending money to Canada, why we send money to everywhere else to fund everyone's wars or just hand out like. We're just basically the world's like funder. We just keep handing out. Why are we giving them money? They're good on their own. They have enough infrastructure and they have enough fossil fuels there to fund themselves for a while. Maybe start exporting some more maple syrup to get your money instead of getting money from the United States. So I think really talking about that is a big deal. I think it's insulting to stop the flow of money, and I think including that calling it the Gulf of America, which I have no problems calling it the Gulf of America. Why not? Who cares? Like it's a is it going to screw up anything? Yeah, a lot of print maps, but other than that, nobody cares. Greenland
actually, then maps become relics, right?
Yeah, so they're collectors.
You're making people some money. Yeah, go on.
I just it's the overall strategy is to again like control the media cycle, control the news cycle, but also kind of like slap around these leaders and say, hey, it is a pissing contest.
America's back. Yes. America's back,
and it's peace through strength. And I mean already you're hearing Zelensky wants to kind of come to the table and talk about ending things now that he knows he's not going to get handouts anymore over there. I guess he's made enough money. Be very interesting to see what happens with the war in the Middle East with Israel. I think that's probably going to come to an end too, because Trump just isn't going to send these people money anymore to have it turn into a laundromat and have them enrich themselves in the middle of killing innocent people. So I think just the ATM that America has been is coming to an end.
Before we go, this is crazy what's happened, and I can't do it justice. I can't do it justice with my words, and we're going to find out just how much this was arson and what really went down in California. But I do want to talk about a little bit about the political side of it and how, Newsom, a mess up, taking money away from fire departments, disaster, focusing on DEI. I mean, all the things that we've heard again and again, everything that could be done wrong and mishandled was mishandled here. I'm not even going to talk about Newsom today or yesterday with this poor woman running up to him saying, please help, please help.
Yeah.
And he's like, I'm on the phone with President Biden right now. And she's like, please talk to him right in front of me. I want to talk to President Biden. Help us, help us. And he's like, well, actually, I'm not on the phone with him right now. I've been trying
but I've tried 5 times. But I've tried 5 times. That was my favorite part.
I tried 5 times. And also, like, there's no self-service here. And I'm like, why are you lying? People already don't trust you, and he's trying to run for president in 2028. We already know this. I can't even think that far. But the point is that I actually had another interesting point. Like, a lot of Hollywood celebrities, a lot of very rich people who have donated a lot of money to the Democrat Party have lost their homes. They've lost everything. And I'm wondering what the tipping point possibly can be where you say, I can't support the Democrats anymore because their policies are so damaging that people are lost everything. And even when you're rich, that matters. And so what's the tipping point? What's the point when people, even the rich, even the ivory tower elite, what's the point where they leave the party and say, I can't do this anymore?
If this isn't it, I don't know what is. That's really where this is. Like, I don't know what's left. Like, when you lose all of your property due to, I know a lot of the water issues were because they were trying to save some sort of like tiny insignificant fish. Yeah. Like
and you're asking them these questions and asking Karen, she can't answer it. Sorry, Karen Bass, the mayor of Los Angeles. You have the head of water who's making $750,000 a year. And what's happening? You're taking money away from fire departments. Adam Carolla can't become a fireman because he's too white.
For 7 years.
Took him 7 years.
Couldn't take the test. Yep.
Yeah, and he's online with a woman, and that soundbite is crazy. He's online with a woman, with a black woman. He's like, when did you apply? She's like, a couple of days ago. So people who want to help can't help. People who are helping can't, there's this, it's all about diversity. It's all about filling quotas. And I'm like, all of these, every single thing that's wrong with the Democrat Party, all of the agenda, all of the policies are all at play here. How do you stay with it? How do you still support? How does Gavin Newsom run in think about it. Gavin Newsom runs in 2028 and somebody who lost their $40 million home is going to give him $40 million?
Yeah, no.
You're responsible for the loss of my house, but let me just give you money to become president of the United States and also do the same to the whole country. At what point does it change? What's the point?
Like I said, if it's not now, I don't know when. And I think they're just too stupid and you get what you get. And if you will continue voting for a person who basically allowed your house to burn down and you to lose all of your property. And by the way, in the middle of that too, if it doesn't burn down, people are out looting. So, it's one or the other. You're losing your property either way. These rich people are having their houses looted. There's no power, so there's not going to be any trace of the people who went in to loot these houses. But the kicker for me in all of it, and I'm sure you saw this, was the video of the fat lesbian fire department person who
can't carry you out.
Well, she said, they said something like a lady would ask, like, what would happen if my husband was stuck in the house? And she said,
he shouldn't have been there.
Yeah, you shouldn't have been there. What is that?
No, he was in the wrong place.
Yeah.
But he is in the wrong place. He's in the middle of a fire, and your job is to get him out.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of people don't put themselves in people don't want to burn to death. And by the way, I'm sorry, I keep touching my face because it's so dry because it's cold here. It's like freezing for the first time in Texas in a while, and there's no humidity
Freezing in
whatsoever, and I'm
Texas.
dying.
It's okay.
But I look at this and it's like, nobody puts themselves in a fire. Nobody wants to die. So like either you know,
Right.
you could have been injured trying to leave, something could have fallen on you, you might have been asleep while the fire started, and then you're stuck because you don't want to run through a wall of flames. Like, I mean, there's so much here that to take into account, and what a disgusting thing to hear from somebody who's in the fire department who's hired because of DEI, and it's very obvious because I don't think that person, when you take a look at her, can pass the physical training that at least the previous physical training that firefighters had to go through here. All the firefighters I know are in great shape and could carry even me and you probably at the same time. A lot of the guys around here in my town in Grapevine, Texas. So I just, when is the end? I don't know when the end is for this. I don't know when people wake up, because if this isn't it, if you watching your house burn to the ground when it was preventable isn't it, if you then watching your house, if it doesn't burn down, get looted in the middle of all of this and no one's going to get prosecuted for it, if that isn't it, then what is? Then what is?
I don't know. But it's an interesting moment. It's, you know, we're very shortly going to get a new president in there, and I wonder if they're going to think, I like this better now. I kind of like that.
They won't.
This is pretty cool.
They won't, because they'll be
won't.
screaming how they're discriminated against because of some sort of because they want to be able to have parades about who they want to have sex with, and somebody will say, I don't like that idea, so they'll say they're being discriminated against.
Sex parades. We're gonna leave it right there with sex parades.
Sex
parades
parades
about sex.
That's what they are.
They are indeed. Tim Young, thanks for being with us.
No problem.